His name was Michael, 43 years old, a father of 3, married for 18 years to a devoted woman named Juliana. To everyone who knew him, he was an exemplary Catholic. He attended Mass every Sunday, participated in parish activities, and regularly put money in the collection plate. But Michael had a secret he kept in his jacket pocket, in his office drawer, on the nightstand next to his marital bed. This secret was contained within a small device just a few inches wide, his cell phone, and Padre Pio saw exactly what was happening to this man's soul. This true story, reported by direct witnesses and preserved in the spiritual archives of the shrine dedicated to Padre Pio, reveals a terrifying truth about a sin that millions of people commit every day, without even realizing the gravity of their actions. Because today, I'm going to share with you what Padre Pio saw when he looked into the soul of a man who was living a secret romance on his phone. What you are about to hear might shock you. It might make you uncomfortable. But if you have the courage to stay until the end, you'll understand why this revelation could save your soul, or the soul of someone you love. Let's begin at the beginning of this tragic story. Michael met his wife, Juliana, when he was 24 years old, at a parish in Chicago, where they were both part of the young adults group. Their love was born in prayer, grew in faith, and was sealed before God in a beautiful wedding ceremony. The early years were happy. 3 children came to bless their union, 2 boys and a girl. Michael worked hard as an accountant at a local firm. Juliana devoted herself to the children and the home. They prayed together in the evening, attended Mass as a family, and seemed to be the perfect couple. But something changed when Michael turned 40. It was subtle at first, a weariness in the everyday routine, a feeling of emptiness despite everything he had, an impression that life might have held something else for him, something more exciting, more passionate. And then one day, he received a message on his phone. It was a former colleague, Ashley, whom he hadn't seen in years. She had found his contact on a professional network and sent him a simple, nostalgic greeting. Michael replied, just out of politeness, he told himself, just to be courteous. But the messages continued. First a few per week, then several per day. The conversations became more personal, more intimate. Michael found himself looking forward to these messages with anticipation, smiling as he read them, hiding his phone when Juliana came near. He convinced himself that it was nothing serious. After all, he hadn't met Ashley in person since these exchanges began. There had been no physical contact. It was just words on a screen. Where was the harm? But the harm was already there, deeply rooted in his heart. A year passed in this way. The messages became bolder, declarations of affection, then of love, exchanged photos, confidences that Michael had never shared with his own wife, an emotional intimacy that surpassed anything he had known with Juliana in years. And during all this time, Michael continued to attend Mass every Sunday. He continued to receive communion. He continued to present himself as a good Catholic before his family and his community. That's when an unexpected event occurred. Juliana's brother, a deeply devout man, organized a family pilgrimage to a shrine dedicated to Padre Pio. It was in 1964, 4 years before the saint's death. At that time, thousands of people came from all over the world to confess to this priest with the stigmata, this monk who could read souls. Michael had no desire to go. A dull fear washed over him at the thought of coming face to face with this priest who was said to see hidden sins. But he couldn't refuse without arousing suspicion. So he agreed, hoping to avoid the confessional by pleading the crowd or lack of time. The trip took 2 days. When the family arrived at the shrine dedicated to Padre Pio, the church was packed with worshippers from all corners of the world. Michael breathed a sigh of relief. With this crowd, it would be impossible to go to confession. He could simply attend Mass and leave without having to face the saints' gaze. But God had other plans. On the second day of their stay, as Michael stood at the back of the church while Juliana prayed near the altar, an old Capuchin monk approached him. "Padre Pio wants to see you," he said simply. Michael's blood ran cold. How was this possible? He had made no request for confession. He hadn't spoken to anyone. He had kept to himself, trying to be forgotten. The monk insisted, "Follow me. He's waiting for you." Michael couldn't refuse. His legs trembled as he followed the Capuchin through the corridors of the monastery to a small room where a few penitents were waiting. One by one, they entered the confessional and came out, some in tears, others with their faces illuminated. When it was Michael's turn, he felt his heart beat so hard he thought it would explode. He entered the confessional. Through the screen, he could see Padre Pio's profile, his bandaged hands, his eyes closed. For a long moment, the saint said nothing. The silence was unbearable. Then Padre Pio opened his eyes and looked at Michael. And what Michael saw in that gaze terrified him. It wasn't anger. It wasn't judgment. It was an infinite sadness, a deep pain, as if the saint were contemplating a tragedy unfolding. Padre Pio spoke in a low but firm voice. "My son, I see what you keep in your pocket. I see the words you exchange in secret. I see the woman who is not yours, and to whom you give your heart." Michael wanted to protest, to deny, to explain, but the words died in his throat. How could he lie to a man who clearly saw into his soul? Padre Pio continued, "You think they are only words. You think that because there has been no physical contact, you have not committed adultery. But let me show you what God sees." What happened next, Michael later described as the most terrifying vision of his life. He suddenly saw himself as if from the outside, sitting in his office, phone in hand, smiling as he read a message from Ashley. But above him, Michael saw something he had never seen before. His soul. And this soul was covered in wounds, deep, bleeding wounds, as if someone had repeatedly stabbed it. Every message sent, every loving word addressed to this other woman had left a gaping wound in his soul. But that wasn't all. Michael also saw another soul next to his own, a luminous, pure, beautiful soul, Juliana's, and this soul was connected to his by golden threads, the bonds of holy matrimony. But these threads were in the process of breaking. One by one, message after message, they were fraying and snapping, and with each thread that broke, Juliana's soul trembled in pain, even though in the visible world she knew nothing of what was happening. The vision expanded even further. Michael saw his 3 children, their innocent little souls, who were also suffering from this invisible rift between their parents. Their father's secret sin was reaching them, wounding them, even though they were completely unaware. And around this scene of desolation, Michael saw shadows, dark forms that sneered, that rejoiced, that stoked the fire of his illicit passion. Demons who were pushing him towards the destruction of his family, his marriage, his soul. The vision vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. Michael found himself back in the confessional, his face flooded with tears, his body trembling with sobs. Padre Pio waited for him to calm down before speaking again. "What you have seen," he said, "is the spiritual reality of what you are doing in the visible world. You have not touched this woman, but in the invisible world, you have already committed adultery thousands of times. For Jesus himself said, 'Anyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart.'" He added, "And this little device you carry with you, this phone, has become the instrument of your downfall. Through it, You have opened a door to the devil in your marriage. You have allowed another woman to enter the intimacy that was reserved for your wife. You have betrayed the vows you made before God." Michael wanted to defend himself. "But Father, I never intended to leave my wife. I never really wanted to cheat on her. It was just—" Padre Pio interrupted him. "Just what? Just words? Just messages? My son, words have a power that you do not suspect. Every loving word you addressed to this other woman, you stole from your wife. Every confidence you shared with her, you denied to the one who had a right to your complete intimacy." The saint paused, then said something that resonated in Michael's soul like a thunderclap. "And do you know what happens when a man does this? Do you know what becomes of his soul over time?" Michael shook his head, unable to speak. Padre Pio replied, "It divides. One part remains with his lawful wife, bound by the sacrament, but another part attaches itself to this other woman by bonds that should never have existed. And this internal division becomes a permanent torture. The man finds peace nowhere. He can no longer fully love either one. He wanders between two worlds, belonging to none, and his soul withers like a plant deprived of water." These words penetrated deeply into Michael's heart. For the first time, he understood the gravity of what he had done. It was not an innocent game. It was not a distraction without consequence. It was a grave sin that was destroying his soul, his marriage, and even his children. Padre Pio then asked him, "Are you ready to stop everything? Are you ready to delete these messages, to cut off all contact with this woman, and to return completely to your wife?" Michael hesitated. Despite all that he had just seen, despite the terror he had felt, a part of him resisted. A part of him did not want to give up these conversations. This excitement, this feeling of being desired and special. Padre Pio saw this hesitation, and what he said next froze Michael to the bone. "If you choose to continue," said the saint, "I see what awaits you. This secret relationship will eventually be discovered. Your wife will be destroyed by the betrayal. Your children will lose their trust in you, and when you die, and that day will come sooner than you think, you will have to answer before God for every message, every lie, every moment where you chose this other woman over the vows you had made." He added, "But if you choose to stop now, if you repent sincerely, and if you definitively cut off this liaison, God in His mercy can still heal your soul and your marriage. The wounds can close, the bonds can be restored, your family can be saved. The choice is yours," concluded Padre Pio, "but choose quickly because time is running out." Michael remained in the confessional for a long time, weeping, praying, struggling with himself. Finally, something broke within him. Not his heart for Ashley, but the wall of denial and justification that he had built around his sin. He said to Padre Pio, "Father, I want to stop. Help me. I'm not strong enough to do it alone." The saint smiled for the first time since the beginning of their meeting. "That is the beginning of healing. My son, recognizing your weakness and asking for God's help." Padre Pio then gave him precise instructions. First, destroy all the messages and delete this woman's contact. Second, go to confession regularly to stay vigilant against temptation. Third, invest in his marriage, all the energy he had wasted in this affair. Fourth, pray every day for his wife and his children, asking them for forgiveness even if they did not know what he had done. And he added one last instruction that surprised Michael. "Tell the truth to your wife." Michael paled. How could he do that? Juliana would be devastated. She might leave him. His family would be destroyed. Padre Pio replied, "The secret is a poison that will continue to eat away at your marriage even after you have stopped the affair. Your wife deserves to know. She deserves to be able to choose whether she wants to forgive you or not. And if your marriage is to be rebuilt on solid foundations, it must be in truth, not in lies." "This is one of the most difficult things I have ever asked someone to do," admitted the saint, "but it is also one of the most necessary. The demon thrives in the darkness. The light of truth is his enemy." Michael left the confessional that day, profoundly transformed. But the hardest part remained to be done. Back home in Chicago, he did what Padre Pio had asked of him. He deleted all the messages, all the photos, everything that tied him to Ashley. Then he sent her one last message, brief and definitive. "This relationship is over. Please do not contact me ever again. I need to dedicate myself to my family." Ashley responded, first with anger, then with pleading, then with threats to reveal everything to Juliana. Michael did not respond. He blocked her number and prayed for the strength to resist if he ever crossed paths with her. But the hardest part came next, telling the truth to his wife. Michael waited a few days, searching for the right moment, the right place, the right words. There weren't any. Finally, one evening, after the kids were in bed, he sat across from Juliana and told her everything. What followed was exactly what he had feared. Juliana wept. She screamed. She called him every name in the book. She asked him how he could do this to her, after 18 years of marriage, after 3 children, after all the sacrifices she had made for him. Michael did not defend himself. He accepted every accusation, every reproach, every tear. He knew he deserved them all. Then something unexpected happened. After hours of anger and tears, Juliana calmed down. She looked at him with red and swollen eyes and asked, "Why are you telling me this now? Why not just stop and never tell me?" Michael then recounted what had happened with Padre Pio. The unexpected summons, the terrifying vision, the saint's words about the necessity of truth. Juliana listened in silence. Then she said something that shocked Michael. "The fact that you're telling me the truth, even knowing that it could destroy our marriage, shows me that you've really changed. A man who wanted to continue deceiving me would never have taken that risk." She didn't forgive him that night. Forgiveness would take months, even years, but she agreed to try to rebuild their marriage. She agreed to follow Padre Pio's advice, common prayer, regular confession, and above all, honest communication between them. The months that followed were difficult. There were relapses of anger in Juliana, moments when she couldn't bear to look at Michael. There were nights when she slept in another room. There were crying spells in front of the children who didn't understand what was happening between their parents. But there were also moments of grace, shared prayers where Michael felt that something was healing between them, deep conversations where they talked about their true feelings for the first time in years. Hesitant, awkward, but sincere gestures of tenderness. 1 year after the confession to Padre Pio, Michael and Juliana returned to a shrine dedicated to Padre Pio. This time, it wasn't by family obligation, but by gratitude. They wanted to thank the saint who had saved their marriage. When Michael entered the confessional this time, Padre Pio immediately smiled. "I see that you have done what I asked you," he said. "I see that your soul is healing." Michael confirmed that yes, he had stopped everything, confessed everything, and was working to rebuild his marriage. Padre Pio then told him something important. "Always remember what you have learned. The devil never gives up. He will come back to tempt you, perhaps not with the same woman, but with other opportunities to betray your wife. Be vigilant, guard your heart, and above all, never again let that device, that phone, become an open door to sin." He added a practical piece of advice that Michael followed for the rest of his life. Never keep conversations on you that you wouldn't want your wife to read. If you have to hide something from your phone, it's because you're doing something wrong. This simple rule became Michael's guide. Every time he was tempted to write something ambiguous to someone, he asked himself, "Would I be comfortable if Juliana read this?" If the answer was no, he didn't send the message. Michael and Juliana remained married until Michael's death, 42 years later. Their marriage was not perfect. The scars of the betrayal never completely disappeared, but they learned to live with them, to forgive day after day, and even to find a deeper intimacy than they had ever known before the crisis. At the end of his life, Michael testified that the meeting with Padre Pio had been the most important moment of his existence. Without that divine intervention, he would have continued on the path of destruction, losing his soul, his marriage, and his family. Now, this story teaches us several crucial lessons for our time. First, our infidelity doesn't begin in the bed. It begins in the heart, in the thoughts, in the small, seemingly innocent messages that become more and more intimate. Today, with cell phones and social networks, temptations are everywhere. It's easier than ever to maintain secret relationships, to hide conversations, to lead a double life. But the fact that it's easy doesn't mean it's without consequence. As Padre Pio showed Michael, every message, every word of affection addressed to someone other than your spouse leaves a wound in your soul and weakens the bonds of your marriage. Second, sin thrives in secret. As long as Michael was hiding his affair, he could convince himself that it wasn't serious. It's only when he had to face the light of truth, first before Padre Pio, then before his wife, that he could begin to heal. If you have something to hide from your spouse, whether it's on your phone, on your computer, or in your heart, it's a warning sign. Marriage is a complete union, without areas of darkness. Everything that must remain secret is potentially dangerous. Third, it's never too late to change. Michael had spent a year in this virtual affair. His soul was covered in wounds. But when he chose to repent, God offered him healing. Whatever you have done, however deep your sin, divine mercy is even greater. But this mercy requires something from you, the decision to change. Not tomorrow, not a day when you feel ready. Today, now. Fourth, truth is the foundation of reconciliation. Michael could have simply stopped his affair and never said anything to his wife. Many people make that choice, thinking they are sparing their spouse. But Padre Pio knew that the secret would continue to poison the marriage even after the end of the affair. If you have betrayed your spouse, confession is painful but necessary. It gives the other the opportunity to choose, forgive, or leave. It's an enormous risk, but it's the only path toward true reconciliation. Fifth, the phone is a tool, not a master. In the hands of a virtuous person, it can serve to maintain contact with family, to uplift others, to spread the word of God. But in the hands of someone weak, it can become an open door to temptation, an instrument of destruction. Ask yourself honestly, how do you use your phone? What conversations are you having that shouldn't exist? What contacts are you keeping that threaten your marriage or your soul? Now, I know that some of you watching this video recognize yourselves in Michael's story. Maybe not in every detail, but in the essence. Maybe you too have a secret relationship, hidden messages, an emotional intimacy with someone who is not your spouse. If that's the case, I want to speak to you directly. What you are doing is destroying your soul. You may not see it yet because the spiritual consequences are invisible to our earthly eyes, but they are real. Every day that you continue, the wounds deepen, the bonds of your marriage weaken, and you move further away from God. But there is hope. Like Michael, you can choose to change. You can delete those messages, cut those contacts, return to your spouse. You can confess, ask God for forgiveness, and begin the path to healing. It won't be easy. The temptation will return. The demon who pushed you toward this affair will not give up easily. But with the grace of God, with prayer, with the support of a good confessor, you can resist. And if you've never been in this situation, this story can still serve as a warning. Temptations are everywhere. The phone you carry in your pocket can become an instrument of your downfall if you aren't vigilant. Protect your marriage. Protect your soul. Never let a small screen separate you from those you promised to love until death. Padre Pio often said that marriage is a sacrament, a living grace that helps us to sanctify each other. When a man betrays his wife, even in thought, even in secret words on a phone, he profanes that sacrament. He spits on the grace that God has given him. But he also said that God can restore what has been broken. He can heal the wounds of the soul. He can rebuild the bonds of marriage. Nothing is impossible with his mercy. Before we end, I'd like to share a few more teachings from Padre Pio on marriage and fidelity that perfectly complement Michael's story. Padre Pio said that marriage is a daily battle against selfishness. When two people unite in the sacrament of marriage, they don't automatically become perfect. They remain sinners with their weaknesses, their temptations, their flaws. But marriage gives them a special grace to combat these imperfections together. The problem, explained the saint, is that many people forget this battle. They think that love should be easy, natural, effortless. And when difficulties arise, when routine sets in, when the excitement of the early days fades, they think something is wrong. They start looking elsewhere for what they think they've lost at home. This is exactly what had happened to Michael. After 18 years of marriage, he had forgotten to cultivate his love for Juliana. He had taken for granted what he had, and when Ashley appeared with her flattering attention and exciting messages, he thought he had found what he was missing. But what he was missing wasn't elsewhere. It was within himself. It was the daily effort, the choice renewed each day to love his wife, to choose her over all other possibilities. Padre Pio taught that conjugal love is a choice, not just a feeling. Feelings come and go. Some days you feel deeply in love with your spouse. Other days you feel distant, irritated, or simply indifferent. That's normal. It's human. But true love doesn't depend on these feelings. True love is the decision to remain faithful even when you don't feel in love. It's the decision to serve your spouse even when you are tired. It's the decision to resist temptation even when it is seductive. Michael had forgotten this truth. He had let his feelings guide him rather than his will, and his feelings had led him toward destruction. Another teaching from Padre Pio, particularly relevant for our time, concerns the dangers of unhealthy curiosity. The saint warned against the desire to know what doesn't concern us, to look at what isn't meant for us, to explore forbidden territories. Today, this curiosity is fueled by technology. With a few clicks, we can access content that would have been unthinkable a generation ago. We can connect with people we would never have met otherwise. We can cultivate relationships that would never have existed without these tools. And this ease is dangerous because it removes the natural barriers that once protected marriages and families. In the past, to have an affair, you had to leave your house, meet someone in person, take considerable physical risks. These obstacles discouraged many people from acting. Today, an affair can start in the comfort of your living room. While your spouse is sitting next to you, it can develop entirely on a screen without anyone suspecting anything. It can become an addiction before you even realize what's happening. That's why Padre Pio, if he were alive today, would certainly warn us against the imprudent use of these technologies. Not that they are bad in themselves, but because they can easily become opportunities for sin for those who are not vigilant. The saint often advised his spiritual sons to flee from occasions of sin rather than confront them. He said, "Don't play with fire. Don't approach the edge of the cliff. Don't put yourself in situations where temptation becomes irresistible. Applied to our time, this advice means pay attention to who you are talking to on your phone. Pay attention to the sites you visit. Pay attention to the apps you use. If something is drawing you towards sin, remove it from your life, even if it seems radical. Jesus himself said, "If your eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off." Of course, he wasn't speaking literally, but he was underscoring the importance of taking drastic measures to protect your soul. Maybe for you, that means deleting certain contacts from your phone. Maybe it means uninstalling certain apps. Perhaps it means giving your spouse the password to your devices as a sign of complete transparency. Whatever measures are necessary, take them. Your soul is worth infinitely more than the comfort of keeping a door open to temptation. One final point I'd like to address is the question of forgiveness in marriage. Michael and Juliana's story didn't end the day he confessed his affair. In fact, that's where the real work began. Juliana had to face the betrayal of her husband. She had to choose whether she wanted to forgive or not. And even after choosing to forgive, she had to live that forgiveness every day, day after day, even when the painful memories returned. Padre Pio taught that forgiveness isn't a feeling, but a decision. You may never feel completely at peace with what the other person has done to you. The scars may always remain. But forgiveness is choosing not to let that wound define your relationship. It's choosing to give a new chance, even if the other person doesn't deserve it. Because deep down, isn't that exactly what God does for us? We constantly betray Him through our sins. We choose other things over Him. And yet, He still offers us His forgiveness, tirelessly, as long as we return to Him with a sincere heart. Forgiveness in marriage is a reflection of divine forgiveness. When you forgive your spouse, you show them a little of what God shows them, and at the same time, you free yourself from the weight of resentment and bitterness. That doesn't mean forgiveness is easy. Juliana took years to fully heal from Michael's betrayal. There were relapses, moments when the anger returned, nights when she couldn't sleep because of the images that haunted her. But she persevered, and Michael persevered too, together with the grace of God and the help of prayer. They rebuilt their marriage on foundations stronger than before. If you're in Juliana's position, if your spouse has betrayed you and you're struggling to forgive, know that this struggle is normal. Instant and complete forgiveness exists only in fairy tales. In real life, forgiveness is a process, a journey with advances and setbacks, but don't give up. Keep praying, keep choosing forgiveness, even when you don't feel it. And with time, God's grace will accomplish in you what you cannot accomplish by your own strength. And if you're in Michael's position, if you are the one who has betrayed and is seeking forgiveness, be patient with your spouse. Don't ask them to forgive you immediately. Accept that healing takes time, and prove by your actions, day after day, that you have truly changed. In conclusion, Michael's story and his secret romance on his phone reminds us of several essential truths. Infidelity begins in the heart, long before any physical act. The words we exchange, the thoughts we entertain, the emotions we cultivate for someone other than our spouse are already a form of betrayal. The phone and modern technologies can facilitate this betrayal like never before. We must be vigilant about how we use these tools. Secrecy poisons marriage. The light of truth, even painful, is the only path to true reconciliation. And finally, with God, nothing is impossible. Even the most wounded marriages can be healed. Even the most scarred souls can be restored. May the intercession of Padre Pio accompany you in your marriages and in your families. May He help you to remain faithful, to resist temptations, and to build unions that glorify God. If this video has touched you, leave a comment to tell me what you think. Do you know someone who is living a double life on their phone? Share this video with them. It could save their soul. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos on the teachings of Padre Pio. May God bless you and keep you in His eternal love. Until next time, and may the peace of Christ be with you and with those you love.